Welcome back to The Remote Life. My name is Han Talbot, also known as Han Mixed World, and today we'll be chatting with Gonçalo Hall. Originally from Portugal, Gonçalo is the president of the Digital Nomad Association Portugal and CEO of NomadX, a global platform for digital nomads. In this episode, we talk about digital nomad tourism and events, what brands need to know about digital nomad communities, as well as Gonçalo's goal to create 50 communities around the globe. So grab a coffee, a tea, or something stronger, and let's get started. Gonçalo, welcome to the Remote Life podcast. How are you today?
Thank you so much for the invitation. Very well. And you?
Yeah, doing good. Just hanging out at World Travel Market in Macedonia right now. But it is what it is. That's the nomad life, right? This is the nomad setup. Doing good, thanks. Let's dive straight in. Tell us about you, your remote life journey so far.
Ooh, that's a big one. So I'm the CEO of NomadX, and I'm a nomad for 7-8 years. I don't know. I lost count during COVID. I work with governments, I work with the private sector, I build nomad communities, and I hang out with people all over the world. And lately, I'm trying to build Brazil as well, build a nomad community in Brazil, which is the biggest challenge so far. That small country is the size of Europe, so we're trying out what we can do there. And in between, I also speak about remote work and the future of work and help companies to move from the office to remote work.
Nice stuff. So tell us a bit more about NomadX. Like, how did it come to be about? Like, what's the ultimate goal? Is there a mission with it?
So NomadX actually acquired through a partnership with a previous founder. NomadX was actually kind of Airbnb for digital nomads. Then they sold this business and I acquired the brand. Dave, which is the previous CEO, is still part of NomadX. But basically right now we're trying to build 50 communities for digital nomads in 5 years. By community, we mean a structured location with a community manager, co-working space, and daily events so that we can just go to places and enjoy it from day one. And so this is what we're trying to build. Meanwhile, we are building small events like the Nomad World in Algarve. We are building pop-up co-livings. We want to build like these deep learning experiences next year, which is a month in the location learning a skill. For example, 1 month in Pipa, Brazil, learning how to surf for a month straight with 20 people. We really want to do this next year. And so, yeah, we are literally trying to create the whole nomad economy. That's the end goal.
So you touched on different things that I'd love to obviously dive more into at different points. But before we do that, I just want to know, like, what was it for you that kind of attracted you to remote work and specifically to the remote work industry and getting involved on that side of things?
The remote work side is really the engine behind everything we are living in the nomad space. So I fell in love with remote work as I saw the potential to change how we live. I always wanted to travel the world and I saw remote work as the tool to live wherever we want. And so I got involved very early, like 6 years ago. And with that, we're actually able to then become kind of a big influencer in the whole space, talking about remote work, teaching companies how to do it, organizing conferences about remote work, and everything we could to promote remote work. Then the small pandemic hit, the whole world went remote. And so that was the biggest challenge. In just 24 hours, we helped thousands of people to work remotely and to survive a global pandemic, working remotely from home, which is something that I personally hate. But that's another thing. Not everybody's made to work from home, but everybody's made to work remotely to different worlds. And yeah, now I divide my time between both. But the truth is remote work is a true engine behind all this. So I'm really passionate about remote work as a tool for repopulation, as a tool to decentralization, as a tool to have a better life, to have access to jobs anywhere in the world, to repopulate villages and everything in between. Like remote work will literally change our whole society. And we are just starting.
It's so true because I feel like a lot of people think about remote work, remote life, and they think that it is working from home. And obviously that's not necessarily the case. So there's definitely a lot more to it in terms of like the flexibility to go wherever you want to be and live life on your own terms. What was it for you? What was your kind of like, no, I remote work because?
For me, it was about freedom. I went to 7 schools, 3 universities, because I was always very curious on how is life on the other side. How is life in that school? How is life in that neighborhood? So I believe I was born a nomad kind of. And before I had to move to places. So when I went to Algarve, south of Portugal, I had to move there, find university and do everything there. When I moved to Germany, I had to find a job in Germany so I could move to Germany. When I moved to Poland, I had to find a job in Poland so I could move to Poland. And remote work just gives me the ability to do this whenever I want, however I want. So my work is in my laptop, so I can live in Poland today, I can live in Lisbon tomorrow, or I can just move to Madeira and be nomadic the rest of my life, which is my choice. So for me, it just gives me this freedom to live and to experience different cultures in a way that I would never do it if I had to find a job in Sri Lanka. You know, you don't want to have a job in Sri Lanka. You want to take your job to Sri Lanka. You want to have a long-term work while you enjoy short-term, the different cultures, and you learn with it. Also, the other key factor was meeting people. I travel a lot between nomad communities, and the people are so interesting. So you meet business leaders, you meet everybody in a very interesting way. And this is actually a big part why I'm a nomad and why I actually like to move between these communities, is to meet incredible people.
For sure. I feel like a lot more and more, especially like post-pandemic, where obviously we had to be isolated from so many people that we care about. I feel like the search for community is definitely a bigger conversation. Like you touched upon it in one of your talks now with Veda about the fact that obviously that we have this, I don't know if you want to talk more about it rather than me kind of giving the, Cambridge Notes version of it, but obviously you talk more about obviously the loneliness pandemic, and I think, for sure that people are definitely more in search of people as opposed to just destinations, which I think will be it'll be interesting to see how that kind of adapts and how destinations, for example, do work with that to bring that to fruition too. What would you like to give any more thoughts on your talk? I don't want to give again like what your talk was.
So my whole theory is that we are hyper connected, yet we feel loneliness than ever. We have these social media networks that we believe that would connect us all. But what happened is that actually we have like a window to see people's lives, but we are not actually connected with them. So we believe we have this feeling we are connected with people, but in reality, what we are is just watching their lives. There is no real connection. And so it's very ironic that we feel lonely, and that 66% of Americans feel loneliness. At the same time, we feel that we are hyper-connected with the world, but we are not. So social media brought us this idea that we are in the global village, when what was happening is that we were more separated than ever. And I really believe that now that we can work remotely, we will see people gathering in communities around the world. And we see this left and right. Communities are like tribes. They do need a leader, but once you have a leader, like you see people organizing themselves around a common interest, like beach volleyball or nomadism. We see nomads travel between communities exactly because they feel lonely. Even more if you are a nomad and if you keep moving and you don't have your friends or your family support, wherever you are, this sense of community is more important than ever. I went through this journey personally. So I'm from Lisbon. I left Lisbon when I was 19. I kept moving from place to place as a student and as a worker. I know thousands of people, yet I have less than 5 friends. And this is because even though I'm connected with thousands and thousands of people because of everything I do, the reality is we don't spend enough time to build these connections, to build these friendships. And all this changed when I started building a community. All this changed when I started building first the Nomad village in Ponta do Sol in Madeira, where I am right now living, or at least based. This ability of being surrounded by people that have the same interests, the same ideas than myself. And we all have this thing in common, which is we travel the world and rejected the status quo. We all have all these same ideas, yet we are all different. But building this community around the co-working space in a village allowed me to really feel connected for the first time. And now every time I come back here, it's like, damn, I kind of belong here. And my people are here, my co-working space. I'm doing work to have a positive impact in the whole community, in the whole island. So I really believe that we need more places like Ponta do Sol. That's why I talked about this goal of building 50 communities in 5 years. We literally want to build 50 places where people feel at home, where they feel connected with others from the first day. And this is very hard to do, but we found a way to do it here in Ponta do Sol through events, through having a centralized space, through having a strong leadership, to having clear rules. All this makes this community and people that come here feel connected for the first time. Our team song is A Place You Call Home. And for nomads, it's very hard to find a place you call home. For myself, it was. I never had a place I call home. And now I kind of call home Ponta do Sol, which is quite cool. So even as a nomad, I think most of us will need a base in the future and a place to call home. And those places will be communities. It's never about the place. There are unlimited beautiful places in the world, but there are very few communities. Last week with a friend of mine that is a nomad, I asked, how many nomad communities do you know? And we reached the goal the conclusion that we have less than 10 communities, nomad communities around the world. We think we have plenty. The world is our oyster. Places with a community where you feel connected, where you feel you belong, we have less than 10. So that's what we need to build. And that's what I'm trying to build.
I'm swearing there are meetings finishing up around me. So I'm just like taking a pause. It's so true. And I think more and more I'm figuring out, even when I'm going through my social media and creating posts and content around it, I'm going, actually, do you know what? Like one of the biggest things on top of like strong Wi-Fi, good coffee, is having those in-person communities, which almost sounds a bit kind of counterintuitive when you think about digital nomads who do predominantly spend a lot of time online. But I think we're really now again realizing that at the end of the day, we are human, and humans, like, we generally like to be social. Like, even if it's just being in the same room as like a couple of your best friends or having a coffee. Like, as I love that there was, just on the side note, so many countries that have a specific word for taking the time to have a coffee with friends. Like Sweden have it, Croatia have it, the Bosnia and Herzegovina have a version of it. And it's just recognizing that at the end of the day, like, your Wi-Fi can be super strong, but if you don't have an actual base or somewhere that you can go meet other humans who are like-minded, there's something kind of missing in that digital nomad connection, I guess.
Yeah, that's why people burn out, I think.
For sure. Have you got any tips for recognizing burnout, just out of interest?
Like, if you are at home alone on a Friday night and it was not your choice, there was just nobody to connect with, that's a red flag for me. I see this, like, now I'm traveling a lot for work. In so many places, I'm surrounded with thousands of people, like Web Summit. And at the same time, you don't have anybody to go out at night because there is no coffee. There is nobody to go and drink coffee with. And I think once you start to be depressed and feel lonely, like, it's time to go to a community. And fortunately, now we have them, like Bali, Lisbon, Madeira, and so many others. Las Palmas is also incredible. Like, just go. Like, you will understand. Once you're there, once you try it out, you will probably not want to leave it anymore, because we feel proud of being independent, but independent does not equal lonely. Independent means you have the decision and you have the power to make your decisions. So once you start to not feel happiness, once you start to feel that you are staying at home too much because there is nobody to connect with, that is the time where you need to book a ticket to Madeira and come here.
I was going to say, I'm surprised you haven't plugged something yet, but the book the ticket to like Madeira definitely is a good start. Where else can people find communities of yours?
So we are in Madeira Island. So we have 4 communities here. Ponta do Sol, I shouldn't say this, I work for the government, but Ponta do Sol is my favorite in the world. It's just a small village with a free co-working space with hundreds of events every month. Just insane. I finish this podcast and I go for a swim with everybody. This is what we like to do, sunset swimming.
It's the ritual.
Yeah, always. we need our sunset swimming, or else things don't work. And we are also now building Pipa in Brazil, also a surf town in Brazil, 20,000 people. I go there in 1 month, actually. We are building the South Bay of Lisbon, Caparica, with the local community. And we really want to grow Spain, something in Spain, something else in Portugal, especially the south of Portugal, Albufeira, Portimão. But for now, Pipa and Madeira are the 2 big ones that we are really working hard. And we want to grow, especially in Portugal and Spain for now. Maybe Morocco. I just came from Tagazut. I really like it. It has a vibe. So maybe we'll do something there as well.
It looked epic.
Yeah, it has a vibe. We like places that have a vibe.
It has a vibe.
I call it the secret sauce. I don't know. Like, there are the hardcore things that you look for before you open something somewhere. And like internet, good food, good coffee, co-working spaces. And then there is the vibe factor. Like, I cannot express it in words, but Ponta do Sol has a vibe. Pipa has a vibe. It's like having the secret sauce, you know? Like, these places, for some reason that I don't fully understand, you come here and you feel good automatically. And I don't know why, but I call it vibe because I don't know what else to call it.
I think that's just it, isn't it? The coffee and the vibes, or whatever it is, the sea and the vibes. But
Yeah.
let's actually just quickly jump onto the Algarve. Obviously, you had an inaugural event, Alpha Theta. We call it, are you calling it, well, sorry, digital, what actually are you officially calling
The
it?
Nomad Worlds.
It's Nomad World, okay. Tell us about it. How did it come about? What's the goal? Because obviously you guys are set for next year too. So obviously it was a success, yay.
Yes.
What is the vision?
So we believe back in the days when I started to be a nomad, there was these conferences where people connected to grow their businesses and to grow as people. And with the time passing and of course, because of COVID, many of these conferences were never organized again. I remember the Nomad Summit from Johnny FD. I remember DNX back in the days. I think the last one was in Lisbon. Like it was a huge event, probably the biggest event ever organized for the digital nomad community. And this was like 2016. And these events were focused on business, growing our businesses, because most nomads were business managers back in the day. Now we are like 80% employees. And also grow personally, grow as a human. And I miss these conferences. I don't think Bansko has this specifically. I think Bansko is something else, something incredible, but it's not this. And so we decided to organize it as a way to promote Portugal, but as a way also to bring this business side of nomadism back. This hunger of building something, which doesn't need to be Facebook. You need to be Facebook. But if you have your business and you make 20K a month or something like that, that's cool. That's more one step for freedom, you know? So I really miss these conversations with other entrepreneurs. So our vision was bringing back this, connected with a cool destination every single year. And our first year was Albufeira, which is a city or kind of a town city in the south of Portugal that during 3 months has a lot of tourism, but during 9 months, it's kind of completely empty. And so we want to use this event to promote Albufeira as a nomad hub, as we believe that the south of Portugal has many, many opportunities for this, especially the whole south of Spain as well, because of this seasonality. So yeah, we want to have these conversations back. I want to speak about business. I want to speak about personal growth. And I feel we missed these conversations during the last 3 years because of COVID and what happened with the world. But I think now it's time to go back and time to build more entrepreneurs, time to share what we know about our business, about marketing, communication, AI. The world is changing so fast. So it was a way to inspire everybody and also to get inspired by all of the speakers and to do something better, something different. And that's our goal. We will do it again next year and the next year and the next year, always in partnership with the destination, probably most of the times in Portugal, but as a way to have these conversations again and to grow again.
I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before again, right? Where like there's so much you can kind of talk about in an email, but the ideas that kind of come up over a coffee or over a talk or having a swim, like there is so much innovation that happens when you are in real life with people as well. I think that I definitely get that. There's just nothing like meeting in real life, like disconnecting for a little bit to reconnect.
And you know what's cool? Like we had more than 30 talks. We had so many events. The best business conversations I had were all in the same place at the same time. We're all swimming around sunset. So we go for swimming every day. It's my personal event. It's the one I really organize. And so every day I posted on the WhatsApp channel, guys, let's go swim at 6. And then people came. The first day were like 5. The second day were like 25. And if you want to speak about business, if you want to speak with me, that's the time I'm always available. It's the swimming time. There is no phones. There is no work. It's just people swimming and talking about business. The best conversations I have in Madeira and the best conversations I had at the Nomad World were always swimming in the ocean. I think it's the best place to have a business meeting.
I mean, also I'd say that I was even like networking on like, we were on a catamaran boat. And I think when you actually like say it was a Wednesday afternoon and I was on a catamaran, but I was networking and it was really great. Like we made really meaningful connections. Even though we were on a catamaran in the middle of like the Atlantic on the way to see some caves. Like that was some of like, it's those meaningful connections that again that you just don't kind of get, I feel, in certain like like speed networking or just over a coffee for 5 minutes in a break kind of vibe. So it's creating those meaningful connections and meaningful memories, right? Too.
That's so true. Yeah, we built the space, and we brought the right people. I think bringing the right people is so important. Like we said no to like 50 speakers because they were not aligned with our mission and these talks didn't align with what we wanted. So we were super strict in the curation. And the same with the people. Everybody we invited over, we knew that was people that were interested in having the right conversations, in networking. In these moments, like you mentioned, that we are curious. We are curious about growing. We are curious about meeting other people because they will help us grow. We always grow through others. So, yeah, I'm very happy that you had that experience.
Again, when you describe it to people, like I've been talking to people here at Travel Market, like, yeah, I was casually having a chat with some people. We're on a catamaran. Like, it just really doesn't kind of add up. But I do have to say that even outside of the context of like digital nomad events, some of my best memories have been on a tour somewhere, or when we've been en route somewhere to like this other exciting thing that we've been doing. And again, like, it's those kind of creative ideas that you come up with during the times that your brain is sort of slightly more switched off as well. So again, you're kind of chilled, you're relaxed, you're bouncing ideas. Like the innovation is electric. It's amazing.
There's some energy there.
Digital nomad energy is incredible. Like, yeah, if I think about, some of the other events around the year too, again, there's just nothing like walking into that room where you've got entrepreneurs, you've got innovators, you've got people who are just walking the walk, as it were. But yeah, rather than just talking the talk. It's crazy. Do you want to mention the dates for next year? So
that's a good question. Dates are somewhere in October in the south of Portugal. So usually it's always the second week in the south of Portugal.
Nice.
I'm literally googling my own event. So sorry, 7th of October to 13th of October in Algarve, place to be confirmed. Maybe or not, I'll find out. We'll figure out.
Yeah, because I feel like, honestly, I was so excited by how many different communities are also popping up, how many different initiatives are popping up. It's going to be an interesting region to watch for sure. And I guess my question that I was going to ask next was, when it comes to destinations and tourism boards, like, can you name a couple of points of why digital nomad or remote worker tourism specifically is beneficial to destinations? Say, for example, I know that the year-round economy is a big point for them. And also, what do destinations maybe need to know about working with digital nomads and remote workers?
I think attracting digital nomads is so powerful. We don't travel in the high season. We travel in the mid and low season because we hate tourists, which is ironic because we are tourists. We bring value.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. I think we live like locals, but we eat more out. We really enjoy the places that locals enjoy, but we spend more time there. We have more purchasing power usually. The key thing here is we use the tourism facility, especially the accommodation. So we act like long-term tourists. We stay in Airbnbs, we stay in hotels where they have kitchen, like the south of Portugal. And we act like long-term tourists, but at the same time, we spend like locals. We go to restaurants, we want to try culture. We don't want to take a picture in the tourism destination. We want to experience it. It's way more experience than it is to take pictures, right? And so that's why I'm very shocked that places like Greece didn't properly invested in this, that places like the south of Spain just now are waking up, especially Malaga, are just waking up to this reality and finally investing in it. But even though they're doing it, they're not doing it in the right way. So it's very weird for me that we have... Yes, that's true. But imagine, this thing, we started Madeira 3 years ago, right now, 3 years ago. These destinations, we proved how it's done. We showed the world what are the advantages. We showed the world the massive economic impact that the project had in Madeira, around 30 million a year. Just direct impact. We started more than 200 companies by digital nomads. We bought houses. We gave new businesses outside. A company from the US, Co-Living Space, invested in Ponta do Sol, in a village with 8,000 people. We changed completely how Madeira is perceived in the world. Now we went from elderly tourism to young people tourism. We literally changed the whole Madeira just by a small project with a very small budget. And yet, the rest of the world seems to be sleeping. The rest of the world, like Greece, Spain, seems to still believe that digital nomads are attracted by videos or by nice marketing campaigns. We couldn't care less. We are attracted by communities. So this is, and connected with your question, this is what most destinations missed. It's not about the videos. It's not about beautiful places. The whole world is beautiful, guys. The whole world is beautiful. It's incredible. We live in a beautiful world. It's about the communities. It's about going through the work of having someone building a community. It's about connecting the whole private sector and educate them to actually build products and services for the digital nomad community. This is what we did in Madeira. That's why we have by far the most successful government project in the world. And the only thing shocking about this is that all the other governments are not copying us. I would expect the whole world to be copying our success. And yet, 3 years later, I can count less than 3 successful government projects, which is absolutely wild. And it just shows how slow the tourism boards and the governments work.
I was going to say, just keep that forward momentum, right? Like, just keep being the example.
We will. Like, we are 3 years on. We are not slowing down. We are just growing. We have new businesses opening every single week here in Madeira, from cafes to co-working spaces. One of the oldest hotels opened the best co-working space in Madeira. They just renovate a room that was for big weddings, and now it's the best co-working space in Madeira. Like, we just see new ideas popping left and right. We see people coming here because they are curious about the project and opening their companies here. We see people moving here because they love the community and they want to feel integrated. So, yeah, we are very open and very transparent on how we built it. We are very open and transparent in saying we want to build 49 more of these. And we want to work with governments all around the world, like we are working now with Brazil. So we are very open, we are very bold, and we will do it with or without them.
You'll work with us, or tag along. I think also that honestly touches on the sort of same points that for me, it's all about like, what's the story? Like, what is your story from the content perspective, right? For me, it began because I did this Instagram tour in Bali for the science, disclaimer. I am a marketing nerd at the end of the day, but it was very interesting watching how people traveled then, where they were all queuing up for the exact same picture. Whereas if you then like head to a waterfall literally around the corner, you've got a whole new story and you've got a whole new experience of what it is. And I feel like that's exactly the same. When you are finding these community hubs and you are building your own story, then like, wow, like there's a whole other world within the world of what you're experiencing. And it's just, your story is completely different from what you see online or like, that's such a very heartwarming approach, I will say.
Yeah, because it's focused on people, It's like when I spoke with the government of Madeira for the first time, my promise was not, I will put Madeira on the map. My promise was not, we will bring thousands of nomads. My promise was, I will build a small community in a village. And hopefully we'll have 200 people there. We had 2,000 in the first 3 months. But
I was going to say,
the promise was only, we are building a community. This is how this market works. I am a digital nomad. I know how we operate. I know what we need. I believe that if we build it from scratch, focus on the people, focus on what they need, people will come. We have zero budget for marketing. Zero. There is no budget. There is no budget for marketing, simply. The only budget for marketing is I go to conferences and I speak about what we built. That's all the budget we have, which is not ours. It's just me traveling around and speaking about it. And it works. It just proves that you don't need a big budget. You need to invest millions. Like the Canary Islands invested 1 million in this market. Like we built the same with 50,000. We are as successful, if not more, than the Canary Islands. Exactly because we understand that we travel between communities, not between places. So it's a weird market. Nomads are a little bit crazy. We don't really care about your videos, about the Instagram posts. It's a nice to have. We care about people.
I like that. I was going to ask a slightly controversial question. Feel free to answer or not.
Please.
So obviously, like when it comes to certain destinations, because I feel like I'm hearing a lot, and I have done for the last few months, that a lot of people will benchmark different destinations as the Bali of Europe, the Bali of this, for example. And in my mind, it's funny how kind of automatically I kind of take that on. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's like, and you're thinking, wait, hang on, since when was Bali as a destination the benchmark for how we build nomad communities, how we build, quote, air quote, perfect destination, for example? But in my mind, obviously, again, this is where like the Bali Instagram tour thing for me started making me really question the concept of over-tourism and having tourism in there too quickly. And unfortunately, digital nomads do get tarred with that brush of contributing to the over-tourism that we now see in destinations like Bali. My question for you is, how would you not necessarily manage it because you're one individual, but how would you go about trying to make sure that, say, for example, Madeira doesn't end up with the same sort of, not backlash, but, the same sort of issues, I guess, as, say, for example, somewhere like Bali, where infrastructures can't cope, communities are struggling?
I think we really overestimate the impact of digital nomadism because of the numbers. Once we measure the numbers, and I compare the numbers all the time, so I'm sure what I'm speaking about, especially like Lisbon, etc. Once we compare the numbers of, let's say, Madeira, we have more than 1 million tourists per year, but we have around 20,000 that are nomads, 20,000, well, 24 technically, in over a million. This left movement trying to blame these 24,000 digital nomads over problems like rising prices of housing and over tourism is absolutely insane. It makes no sense at all. And I know even many nomads believe in this theory that we have a negative impact. I'm talking about mostly Europe. Bali is a whole, like Canggu was built around nomads and now it's basically over tourism, for example. Like the problem of Canggu today is not nomads, is that that mass tourism found Canggu and Canggu became the new Kuta. This is the real problem of Bali. It's not nomads. And so it's completely insane that we are blaming usually nomads are something between 0.1% to 1% of the tourism of a nomad hotspot, not of a destination. I mean, of a place like Lisbon, of a place like Madeira. We are, in the best cases, 1% of the tourism. And here we are believing the story of a political party, of the political faction that we are part of the problem. I strongly disagree. And I know some people don't like me because of that. I just look at the numbers. Can we work? Can we build the communities to have a positive impact from day one? Yes, we can, and we do it. Should we blame the nomads for the problems that come from over-tourism, from lack of social housing, etc.? Hell no, it doesn't make sense. Like, for example, nomads are being blamed in Lisbon for the housing crisis. The same housing crisis that is global, that goes from the West to Australia, passing by Singapore, by Estonia, pretty much everywhere in the world, we are in a housing crisis. And yet, in Lisbon, someone on the left decided that nomads are the ones to blame. They didn't blame the lack of construction. They didn't blame the free money for so much time that we had. They're blaming these around 20,000 nomads that go to Lisbon. This is insane. Doesn't make any sense. So even as nomads, we need to be very careful in looking at the data before we believe and repeat theories and actually believe in this crap. And I'm really sorry for the people who disagree with me, but show me the numbers. If you show me by the numbers that we are having a negative impact, I'm the first one to try to fix it. That's how we did it in Madeira. From day one, having a positive impact, connected with Nomads Giving Back, connected with local NGOs. We have this built in how we operate in Madeira. And I believe we should do this everywhere. That's not the point. I really believe every single project needs to have a side where it gives back to the local community. This can be through knowledge exchange. This can be through literally volunteering with NGOs like Nomads Giving Back does so much time. This can be teaching code in schools. This can be teaching about remote work in schools. We do all this, all of that. Still, this is just because we are responsible and we want to have to be a positive force for good. This is not because we have a negative impact. And this is very different.
For sure. I think people also do tend to forget, again, like this is the marketing nerd in me, but of course people forget that a lot of the impact comes down to what's posted on TikTok, what's posted on Instagram, what goes viral at the time as well. And a lot of the time, actually, if you look at who is actually posting, it's not normally the short-term visitor as well, who's doing, the top 5 places to visit in Lisbon, or it's all very kind of like short-term visitor stats when you actually boil down to it. But yeah, no, that's some interesting ideas. I think definitely... Obviously, I'm at World Travel Market and I'm having these conversations and I'm thinking about okay, how do we distinguish the digital nomad visitor or remote work visitor from the short stay visitor? And even thinking about how, for example, I look at, day tours or, things like that. It is all slightly different. There is definitely more, it's going to sound mean, but I don't mean it to be, but I guess there is definitely more thought put into who it is that you are putting your money into. Like, is it sustainable? Is it impacting the environment? Is it impacting, for example, habitats? There's definitely a lot more elements that go into how digital nomads and remote workers travel versus what we see quite often going viral on TikTok and all the rest of it. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, but for me, it's also we believe we are more than we actually are. Every data point about the number of digital nomads is, in my opinion, illusion. It's fake, because how do you count the lifestyle? I compare it a lot. How many hippies there are in the world? I have no clue because it's a lifestyle. Nobody's
Giggling in the background.
like, how do you know? Like it's a lifestyle. How do you know how many hippies are in the world? Is there a grade of hippies? A super hippie, maybe lippy? There is nothing. And digital nomads are exactly the same. People like Peter Level said jokingly, and people took him seriously, that there will be 1 billion digital nomads by 2030. It was joking, but people really took it seriously. And the last data say we are 36 million out of nowhere. My honest number.
Odd.
Yeah. Do you know what I believe? And I had this conversation last week. I believe we are less than 1 million.
I could agree to that. Yeah. It's a very small community, really.
It's a very small community. So how I define a digital nomad is a remote worker who travels for a sustainable period of time. If you stay in any place more than 6 months, you become an expat in that place, both legally and for me as a human. You are not a nomad. I'm really sorry if you believe you're a nomad. I'm okay with that. We can call ourselves whatever we want nowadays. It doesn't matter. We can be unicorns if you want to. But I deal with government, so I deal with the legal side of the world. And the legal side of the world tells me that if you stay for 6 months in a place, you become an expat because you are usually, you have to pay taxes there. And if we count on this, I believe we are less than 1 million digital nomads around the world. If we count with remote workers, remote work is huge, and many remote workers don't want to become nomads, but they do want to experience this lifestyle, or they do want to travel for 1 to 2 months every year to escape winter or whatever. These guys are not digital nomads. These guys are remote workers. This will be 90% of the clients of co-living spaces, etc. Like it's not going to be the typical digital nomad like us. It's going to be the remote worker who travels, escaping winter, or travels for a couple of months because he or she wants to go out and meet new places once a year, but they want to go back to the family. They have their house. They have their circle of friends. If we count with these guys, yeah, we may be 500,000. Now we are maybe like 50 million, even more. And this market will explode and grow as remote work becomes more stable inside the companies. But true digital nomads, in the true sense of the word, as remote workers who travel for a sustainable period of time and stay in each place less than 6 months, we are less than 1 million, in my opinion. But who knows? Nobody can count them.
It's so true. That's one of the conversations I'm having with destinations, is knowing how to track that and how to understand that pattern of how people move about. I'll definitely be curious to see how that potentially evolves and what people come up with. Speaking of, though, like patterns and trends, do you have any thoughts on what we're going to see more of in 2024? Anything that you think that we'll see more in the digital nomad tourism space?
Yeah, I think South America will be the new hot thing. I think people would start traveling less to Asia and more to South America. The biggest reason is South America is decently priced. It's a true paradise. Like, I'm working with Brazil. That place is insane. I just visited Buenos Aires, top 3 cities in the world for me, for digital nomads, like absolutely insane. They have one of the most successful government projects, actually, was operating right now in Buenos Aires, Nomads BA. And the guys are incredible. They are thoughtful. They really focus in community. Tato is building the community there as well. So I like when you have a community manager and the government involvement. So I believe Buenos Aires will grow. I see the next 2 years, South America exploding with our interest in people. Our first community in Brazil just went through the roof this year. We have hundreds and hundreds of people coming to Brazil this year. And we'll see the same with Argentina. I think Colombia has more than Medellin to explore. So I think South America will be the next hot thing. Also, like Brazil is just 3 hours time zones from Lisbon, London. And so if you wake up at 6, it's 7. So you wake up at 6 there. It's still quite early in Europe, so you can optimize your time. And 80% of digital nomads are actually remote workers for companies. So I see South America as a big trend. I see more stability in remote work. So I think we'll have a lot of these corporate people trying this lifestyle for 2-3 months. I think this will be huge in 2024. And I really hope to see more projects. So my bet is 2024 to 2026, we'll see a lot of South America. And then finally, we will see Africa starting to appear. I think Tagazout is already a destination. Cape Town is already a destination. We want to build more and more Cabo Verde islands in front of Morocco. But I believe the whole continent is untapped and actually is a paradise and a strong culture and everything. And in the same time zone of Europe. So I really believe that Africa will thrive. And then we'll see. Will Greece come to play? Will Spain come with a serious project to play? I see Malaga really wanting this badly, so I believe Malaga can actually make it happen. But Greece, I don't see much. Italy, I would love to see Italy doing something. Albania is already true, but still not well organized at all. We hear a lot about Albania because it's cheap, because it's beautiful, but nothing is well organized. The government is not playing yet. So it will be fun to see what happens to Albania. And I'm hopeful for Romania. I think Romania will be really cool. I don't know. That's what I see.
No, honestly, like I needed any more reason to go back to Brazil, really. I can definitely see also Romania, like I think there's quite a demand for it as a destination too, in terms of visas and things like that. So yeah, that'd be interesting to watch that journey for sure. Lots of destinations to keep an eye on for sure. And yeah, South America. But like we need any more reason.
I just found a secret place, not so secret, but a new winter destination. And that will almost for sure be a competitor of Bansko for the winter.
Oh.
And it's called Sinaia, 1 hour south of Brasov in Romania. It looks insane. It's beautiful. And people want to work it out. And I had several calls with people who found it very interesting. Also, I had calls with Brasov, which is a very cool city in Romania. And I think these two together, like having a city like Brasov, which is a hub, it's incredible. It's very dynamic, plus a village like Sinaia, which is more like small. It's a ski resort. So it's basically hiking for the summer. I think these two together will become very interesting if they work together for the future. I would love to see it. I think Romania is still very untapped. And I think they have huge potential to do something really, really cool.
Lots of places to keep an eye on. So with your 50 communities that you are building, tell us, what is the ultimate dream? What does that look like so that we can keep an eye on your communities that you are collecting?
Honestly, I think Pipa is probably the best paradisiac place in the world. It's just insanely beautiful. It's a surf town. Everything is made with flip-flops in your feet. Havaianas, of course. No competitors are allowed. And it's just perfect. Still, like, we need a proper co-working space. My dream is to build a kind of dojo co-working space like we had in Bali, but build it in Pipa. I'm working for that, still trying to find the perfect house. And once we have a good co-working space and incredible co-living space, people would just go through the roof. It's just perfect. It's 1 hour south of Natal. It's 7 hours from Lisbon by airplane. It's incredible. You walk everywhere. They have CrossFit. They have surf. They have incredible restaurants. It's one co-work away from stardom. That's it. So I really think Pipa is perfect and will be as big as Madeira in the future, probably, even though it's in the South Hemisphere. So that's for now, the most perfect place I found in the world is Pipa. I'm really curious about Sri Lanka. I think Sri Lanka could be an incredible country. I think Sri Lanka is an incredible country. It could be an incredible community. So I'm very curious about Sri Lanka and how we could grow it. And those are the two big ones I'm looking at.
Surf destinations. Sounds like there's a common theme.
That's true.
Somewhere to
it's
swim
not
at 5
mandatory. I know there is something cool about the surf vibe. Also kite surf. I think they bring, first, the infrastructure is usually already there. So like Pipa, the accommodation is there, the surf schools are there, the restaurants are there, partially because it's a tourist destination, partially because of the surf. So I think the surf, like in Tagazout, I just visited Tagazout in Morocco. The infrastructure is there because of surf, and now they see nomads as the next big opportunity. And so I think, yes, surf is cool. I don't surf at all. I don't like the board part of surfing. I love to be in the water without the board. But surf helps build the infrastructure that nomads will use.
That's interesting. I never thought about it that way. I was only half joking, but I do like that approach. That's an interesting thought, actually. I've got 3 final fun questions for you. Are you ready?
No, but let's do it.
It's the end of the day, no. First question is, you've got one destination that you've got to recommend. I feel like I know your answer. Your one destination you're going to recommend to the first digital nomad. Where would you recommend they go?
Ponta do Sol, Madeira.
I knew it. 10 points for me. The second question is, what is one thing that you have to have in your digital, apart from your laptop, passport, phone, what one thing do you have to have in your digital nomad bag?
Foldable laptop stand. You know, like the thing, it's a foldable, like it's just a little thing that you open and you put your laptop
Yeah.
at the height of your face. I bought mine 6 years ago, and it's still going, and it's a lifesaver for my neck and my back.
Could have done with one of them for myself today. And a final question, fill in the blank, home is where?
Ponta do Sol. Now, let's see in the future. But today, I can say I have kind of a home. I have a place with 3 books, and that place is Ponta do Sol. I stay here like 5-6 months a year, so I'm almost an expat. I'm on the borderline in my own country. But right now, Ponta do Sol feels like home. I travel the whole world. Just came back from 1.5 months on the road, like traveling every single week. It's just so good to be back to Ponta, like walk to the co-working space, see familiar faces, all the locals saying hi and how are you, and just connecting. So right now, Ponta do Sol in Madeira is my home. It's a place we call home.
Love it. Gonçalo, thank you so much for being on The Remote Life. It's been great to chat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Remote Life, and thank you, Gonçalo, for taking the time to speak with us. You can find links to Gonçalo's profiles below. Thank you so much again for listening, and we can't wait to remote work with you again soon.